Good morning everybody and welcome to the video. This is a project video. Here we are going to learn the following thing. We are going to build a real-time low latency stream ingestion pipeline. So basically we are going to bring data from MongoDB Atlas in near real time into Apache Hudi transactional data lake. In this project, you're going to learn several key items. You're going to learn about MongoDB streams. We're going to bring the data via MongoDB streams into Event Bridge. B, after we have the data in the Event Bridge, we are going to create a rule to push the events into a kinesis data stream. C, we're going to write a glue job, which is going to take the data from a kinesis data stream, flatten it out, and essentially perform an upsert on Apache Hudi transactional data lake. We are going to leverage the MOR table for this video. So we'll have an RO table and an RT table. RO stands for read optimize, RT stands for real time. So this is an entire project. You will learn a lot of amazing stuff. So I strongly encourage you to perform this project with me. We're going to start absolutely from scratch. We're going to create our first MongoDB Atlas cluster, and then we're going to learn about this entire stream ingestion pipeline in this project video. So let's get started without wasting any further time. So now that you know what we're about to build, so the first step in the project is very straightforward. We need a MongoDB Atlas cluster. You can create a MongoDB Atlas cluster for this project or learning purposes absolutely free by heading over to the MongoDB Atlas. So I'll just walk you over the steps. So you can click on try free, or you can sign up with your Google account. Once you're done, what you want to do is if you come on the project, I'll just walking you over the steps. So basically this is my project, right? You can click on a create button over here and then choose shared over here. Choose the cloud provider as AWS and basically scroll all the way on the bottom, give it a cluster name and click on create cluster. And here you can see it's free, okay? So you can basically create a MongoDB Atlas cluster for free of cost. So now that you have a cluster, what we need to do is we need to basically create a simple collection called analytics. That's the database name. And a collection is like tables. We'll have a collection called clicks, and we're going to insert a sample record into it to make sure the connection string is working fine and we are able to see the data just as a test purposes. So what you want to do is you can come here and click on connect option over here, and then you can click on connect your application. I'm going to use Python, and what you want to do is copy your connection string, okay? So now I will come to my Python code over here. Now you will be given an env file. So again, this is my username password. Again, I'm going to delete after the project. So put your username password and your connection string over here. And now in the Python file, what you need to do is basically you just need to insert a sample record to see if you can see the data or not. So I will run this Python file over here. This should insert a sample data. And looks like it did insert the data now. Now I'm gonna go and click on browse collection, and you should be seeing a database called analytics and a collection called clicks. And again, this might take time, so just kind of be a little patient here. So I'm gonna refresh. Again, it's a shared one. It's a free. So it's again, it is gonna be a little slow. So so let's wait for this. An error occurred while querying your MongoDB deployment. Please try again in few minutes. All right, no problem. So I'm gonna try again to click on browse collection. Okay, now you can see there's a collection called clicks, and that's my database called analytics. And here you can see I have some fake data being populated. So at this point, what we have just done is we have validated our MongoDB Atlas cluster. So we made a free cluster and we inserted a sample document into it to make sure everything is fine. So the next step is now setting up MongoDB streams, which means anytime an insert happens into that collection called clicks, right? Or anytime update happen, we want to stream those events into near real time into event bus, right? So that's the part we're gonna do the next. So the next part is now setting up MongoStreams to broadcast these events into our AWS environment. Now let's set up the stream part, okay? I want to basically set up stream on this database called analytics and on this collection called clicks. As I explained you right now, when I insert, I want to broadcast these events. So what I will do is basically I will head over to the services section inside that. Do you see something called triggers here, right? Hopefully I can zoom in as much as possible. So now this is where we need to do the magic, right? So over here, you're going to click on get started. Okay. Again, might take a while. It's a free one, so just hang on into that. So the name we're gonna say, again, this is for the clicks. So the way I like to name this is, I usually say trigger analytics and then followed by the collection name. So I'm gonna do this for the clicks one, right? Does that make sense, everybody? Then I can come on the bottom section, right? Link data sources. Let me see if we have something. Yes, I'm gonna link that cluster. That's weird. I can't select that, but that's fine. Cluster name, I think it should be, yeah, there you can see. So now you have a cluster name called project real-time. That's the one that we need to select. Now the database name, we're gonna choose analytics, right? Collection name, I wanna set up on clicks one, okay? Now what sort of what do you wanna broadcast? Do you just wanna broadcast deletes? Do you wanna broadcast updates or insert? Basically, you can select the option that you want. I'll say I want to broadcast the inserts and updates. Deletes, I really don't care at this point, but I want to broadcast the inserts and update. Over here, we can say, what do you want to broadcast? So I'm going to broadcast the full document, okay? On the function section, I'm going to select an event bridge over here, right? Now, this is where you need to put the details about your AWS account. So I'm going to basically copy my AWS account ID over here. Scroll on the bottom section, and then I'm gonna select the region as North Virginia, that is US East 1, okay? Let's see what's there in the advanced section. Yeah, pretty much, yeah, I don't need to do anything there. So I'm gonna basically click on save at this point. All right, so hopefully your trigger has now been set up, right? Now, next step is basically we need to head over to the AWS and accept that. So now I'm on my AWS account. What we need to do is we need to come to Amazon Event Bridge, click on this option over here, right? Now, I think the one that you will see is in the partner event sources. And here you can see there is a request that I need to accept, right? So now I can click on associate with the event bus. So it is in the pending state right now. So I'm gonna click on this button. And now it is asking me, okay, associate with the event bus, right? So I'm gonna say organization, my organization, click associate. And now, as you can see, it is now in the active state. So now if I now go to the event bus, I do have an event bus over here, right? As you can see. So anytime I publish now my data into MongoDB Atlas, into that collection, we are now broadcasting these events into our AWS environment on an event bus. Now the next step is we are gonna write a rule basically on this event bus, which is gonna broadcast that event into a Kinesis data stream. From there, we're gonna write a Glue ETL job, which is gonna process this data real time and create a transactional data lake. So that is sort of the flow. So hopefully you're getting the steps that I'm essentially showing you, right? So the first step, we made a MongoDB Atlas cluster. The second step, we tested the connection and everything, made sure it's okay. The third step, what we did is basically we made a trigger to basically broadcast those events into an AWS account. And then we went to the AWS account, and then under partner event sources, we essentially accepted that, right? And now we have an event bus where we can add a rule and broadcast these events to a Kinesis. So that's the next part. So now the next part is we need to create a Kinesis data stream and broadcast these events from the event bus to the Kinesis. So that's the next part. So what you want to do now is on your management console, type the word Kinesis and open up the Kinesis console. And over here, head over to the data stream and click on create data stream. You can use on-demand mode, which means AWS will automatically scale the number of shards. But for this, I don't need really, for production, yes, but for now, I'm just gonna use a provision, right? And I'm gonna say click streams. All right, this can be anything, click stream, order stream, product stream, order stream, etc., etc. Click on create data stream. So now we have a data stream over here, right? It's in the creating state, and soon we should see our data stream has been created. So let's wait. And my data stream is now created. Now what I need to do is I will basically come back to my event bridge, come to event bus. Actually, I want to come to rules. I'm going to select this event bus, right? Now we need to forward the event. So basically I'm going to show you that in my paint. So here you have your MongoDB, right? So basically here is your MongoDB, right? we are broadcasting the events to the event bridge, right? And then from there, we're going to write a rule to broadcast the events into a kinesis data stream, right? That's what we are doing right now. This is the part we are doing right now. So what I'll do is I'll click on create rule and I'll say, send events to kinesis. Let me zoom in also because people do watch from the phone. So I'm gonna say this rule will send data from MongoDB Atlas into event bus, and then this rule will forward it into kinesis. Okay. Rest everything to default, click on next. For now, you can use all events. Again, you can also add a pattern, right? But for now, it's fine. You can use all events, okay? Then come on the bottom section, leave everything else to default, and I'm gonna click on next. Then here is the target. My target is gonna be kinesis, right? So I'm gonna select the kinesis stream. There you go, click stream. Hopefully you can see. Now, again, ideally, if you want, you could also specify a dead letter queue, but for now, I want to keep things easy, okay, not complicated for you. Tags are a great way to monitor the cost. So I'm gonna say product, I'm gonna say streams. Again, you can add as many tags as you want. For production, I encourage you to do that, and then click on create rule. So our pipeline is all set up, which means anytime anything happens on MongoDB Atlas, we'll have it in the event bus. We have a rule which will forward that into a kinesis. So let's verify that everything, right? Are you excited? All right. So what I will do is I'm gonna insert one JSON data over here. And I'm also gonna print that. So let me do json.dumps. Again, I'm inserting this data into a MongoDB, okay? So let's insert that, indent S3. Okay, so I shall run this Python file, and one record is inserted into MongoDB. As you can see, a sample event was inserted, job ID is 15. So let me see if I can see that event now in the kinesis. So if I head over to the kinesis, if I go to my stream, if I go to the data viewer, and if I basically, again, please note there might be a slight delay depending like about a second or a few milliseconds. So be a little patient, okay? So again, I'm back here and I am clicking on shard ID, and I will click on trim horizon to see if I got the record. And there you go, guys. We got the data. That's great. So now I will show you that in the JSON formatter. And remember, this is happening everything in a fraction of seconds. Okay. So let's see how the data comes. So here we know that this is all the metadata, right? So the timestamp, the source, the detail type, the ID, right? And in the detail section is where you will have all the data points, right? So here you can see detail, you have the document ID, operation. So you know it's an insert, right? So here you can also see the cluster time, what time it came, and the full document. I am actually interested into this full document part, okay? This is what I need to get into the Apache Hudi transactional data lake, right? And again, you have some objects here, etc, etc. So this is how the data looks like. So at this point, you have successfully made your data from MongoDB Atlas into kinesis. So half of the battle is done here only, because you have the data in the streams. Now it's all you gotta do is basically you gotta write code for your ETL or Glue, right? It's basically that, and once that is done, that's it, you're all set. So the next part is gonna be the Glue ETL part, where I'll basically walk you step by step over the ETL code. Again, there are nested objects, so we have to take the data from the nested objects. We might flatten it out. All that stuff is in the next part, that is the ETL code that I'm about to show you. So hopefully you guys are following the project with me, and hopefully you are able to make your data into the kinesis so far. Again, if you want, feel free to pause the video, rewind the video, and see the steps if needed. So now let's take a look at the Glue ETL part. Now it's one of the most fun part of the project, that is the ingestion part, which is where most of the people have issues, because they're like, this complex data type and this and that. This example shows you everything because we're going to flatten out the data. We have a complex attribute. So let's see the ETL and the ingestion part. So allow me to share my screen. One sec. Excuse me. All right. So before I go into the code, I want to show you how the data looks like, right? So this is very important, right? So hopefully this makes sense. Okay, so when the data comes into Kinesis, right, you will have all these housekeeping fields. These are housekeeping fields, okay? Your actual data from MongoDB will be inside an entity called detail. Inside that, you will have further all these other entity. What I am literally interested is in full document. That's where your entire document is gonna be, right? So this is important for you to know because again, ingestion part is where most of the people struggle a lot, right? So that is something that we have to know, okay? Now I have a Jupyter notebook where I have made your life a little lazy. So here I have pasted the entire JSON, how it looks like, the raw JSON that we get, right? Now, what we need to do is if you do a print schema, this is how the schema looks like. And I'm gonna zoom in as much as possible. So this is the schema. And what are we interested in? We are interested in the entity called detail, right? That's where my data is, right? Inside an entity called detail, inside that we have a full document, right? That's where what I am interested in. Observe the schema, it is a type of struct. Okay, so now what I need to do is when I get the streaming data, I need to select the data frame. I need to select the detail entity. After that, I need to go inside the full document, and then that's the document that's coming from MongoDB. Then I want to flatten out the document because I don't want to have complex attribute, because flattened data, it's much more easier for people to query that data, right? Then you have these nested map objects. Then you have to, it just becomes a little trickier, right? So hence I'm going to flatten out the data, okay? That's important for us to know. So again, this is a function that I have taken from Stack Overflow. This function flattens out nested objects. It can work with 1 layer, 2 layer, 2 layer, 3 layer. We don't have to worry about the code of that. So we're gonna call that function, and this is how the document looks like. Look, nice, amazing flat document. So end goal is we wanna have a flat document, not the nested objects, okay? So now let's walk over the ingestion code step by step. This is the most important part, okay? All right, please pay attention and pause the video if needed. Over here, we are defining imports, nothing crazy over here, okay? Here we are defining Spark session, very, very straightforward and easy. Then again, you know that the data comes into Kinesis. So we have to create a table, or we have to catalog the data. We are gonna do that in a second. So the first step what we do is this particular code is invoked, glue context for each. So for each streaming batch, we are gonna call the function called data frame data source 0, which is over here. So what this does is basically it will read the data frame as a glue, it will read the data frame as a glue data frame from the catalog. And if you see the table name and the database name, right, it's a placeholder, right? So if you see over here, that's the table name, right? We don't have it. We are going to create that shortly. So let's do the cataloging part. So I would come to Glue. Let me see where my Glue is. Over here. Okay. So come to database, click on create database. The database name would be streams. Click on create database. Click on the database. Click on add table. And this is the table name that I want to give. You can give anything. Again, this is the Kine. So the data is going into the Kinesis, right? We are simply cataloging that information. I'm going to select that. Over here, this is important. I'll select Kinesis over here. Region as US East 1. I'll select my stream. I'll select JSON. Click next. Click next. Click on create. So basically, I have made a table, right, from where I'm going to read the data. So now in the code, does this make sense, right? So I'm reading the data, right? So I'm reading the incoming batch of data from the Kinesis data frame. This is going to read the data as a glue data frame. After that, we call a function called process batch. This is a function. So over here, I check if the count is greater than 0, right? Then and only then come inside and process, right? So it's just a check. Then over here, we read the data. We convert the data into a Spark data frame on line number 119. So if you observe line 119, Kinesis dynamic frame 2df. So 2df converts into a Spark data frame. After that, I'm selecting the entity called detail, right? Again, you remember I said, right? I'm interested in the full document. That's the data that's there in the Mongo, right? I'll show you again. So if I go to Mongo, browse collection, again, that's the collection, right? Hopefully you guys can see, right? So what I'm doing in my code is I'm going inside the detail entity, right? Remember, when the data comes, it comes inside the detail, inside the full document. So I'm going inside the detail. I'm basically selecting the full document, which is a struct object. Remember, it's a struct object. I'm calling a function called flatten df. So this basically takes that nested object and it's gonna break that into and it's gonna break and it's gonna flatten it out. That's the goal. So 3 stands for, you know, the depth, the how deep you want to go. So I'm saying that, you know, in my nested objects, I want to go up to 3 levels. Okay, that's pretty much it, right? And then piece of cake, guys. All I'm doing is I'm gonna write the data frame into my data lake, right? Now let's walk over the settings over here. So we are using merge on read. The reason we are using a more table here, and which is why what I suggest is, anytime an update comes in a cow, it essentially creates a new file version, right? And then of course you can prune the older file version, but more are much more efficient for streaming use cases. For example, anytime an update is coming, right? So what's gonna happen is it's gonna store that in the log file, and then after certain commits, it's gonna compact and create a new data file, right? So that's why I'm using a more over here, right? Window size is 10 seconds. So I'm going to process the batches in a window of 10 seconds. Trim as horizon means if the job stops, start from the beginning, which means think about it, right? Even if you can do like start at a timestamp as well, but if the job stops, I wanna just restart from where I left, or maybe start from the beginning, in which case it's simply going to perform an upsert. You will still not have duplicates in the data lake, right? So that's that, and that's the Hudi table name. So now let's rock and roll, guys. So what I'm gonna do is I'll show you the steps. Again, we are gonna use Hudi. We're gonna use Glue 4. So click on Spark script editor, click on create, and paste your code inside that. Again, I have done that. I'm gonna walk you over the settings. So okay, so stream ingestion, right? That's the IAM role. Type as streaming. That's Glue 4, Glue version 4. G.25x. Again, you could do an auto scaling, right? In production, I do recommend to use auto scaling and set the max worker as 10. So if you have burst of traffic coming in, your Glue workers are automatically gonna scale. But for now, we're just learning, so it doesn't really matter. Again, you can bump up the RAM as well, but for the simple use case, I don't really need it. Then this is something that you want to make sure, enable job matrix, Spark UI, make sure you use Glue data catalog, right? And this is important. So we gotta pass the conf and the data lake format. These settings will be there. Again, we are saying Glue that I want to use the data lake format as Hudi. I'll save this. And now I'm gonna run the job. Again, so now, oh wait, I think I didn't update the code. Hold on. Ah, shit. So I have to take the code because so I'm gonna copy this code, put that in the script section, update that, click on save. Okay, so the job is now being saved. Okay, I click on run. So let this stop. I mean, this might take a while, so I'm just gonna stop. And also I'm gonna make sure there's nothing there on my S3, right? Yeah, the Spark checkpoints are there. I'm just gonna delete everything and start from scratch. Okay, so simply I'm gonna delete everything in the S3. All right, that's good. Is this stopped? Yeah, looks good. So now I'm running my, it's still in the stopping state, so I have to wait, I guess. So let's make sure it's completely stopped. And now I can run. Now, looks like, yeah, it's still stopping. It already says stop, but it's still stopping. That's why it's not allowing me to execute that. So let me save. Let me just wait for a second or two, hopefully. Let me try now. And now, it works fine. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert certain documents into Mongo database. As you can see, I'm inserting certain fake documents. These are fake data, right? Again, but this all is processed in near real time, right? So we were able to insert these documents here in the Mongo database, right? Hopefully you guys can see, right? So now I will wait. So because the glue job is gonna, so what's happening, right? We inserted the document into Mongo. The Mongo triggers are gonna forward that event to event bridge. From that event bridge or event bus, we have a rule which forwards the event to kinesis. From kinesis, we have a glue streaming job which reads the data, selects the document selects the entity, flatten out the entity, and performs an upsert on our Hudi Datalake. So all of that is happening, and again, they're still running. So I'll simply try to be a little patient here. And pretty soon, what I do anticipate here is to see those tables coming in. At this point, I still don't have it. So I'm gonna wait. Can I insert that? Inserting some more records, again, just fake data points that's coming in. And again, if you want to check everything is working, you can always come to your kinesis and do get records, and here you can see all those records are coming in, right? So let me go back. So the glue job is running, so everything looks good there. And pretty soon we should see, so here are the checkpoints. I should see a table coming in shortly. Let me see what was the name I added. I don't remember at this point. So if I scroll up quickly, oh yeah, the table name is order. It's fine. I should have said clicks, but it's fine. Not the end of the world. Again, what's more important is the process overall, right? It's not the name here, right? So I'm simply gonna wait at this point, and if you want, you can also go to the output logs and you can check your output logs as well. Again, if you have a print statements, probably you will see all these in the output logs. Again, as you can see, right, the Spark data frame, I did a print schema. You could see everything here, right? So just wanted to walk you, right, in case if you are new and beginner, right? So the streaming job is gonna run 24/7. And after about, yeah, there you go. See, that's the Hudi metadata, right? It's a more table. So pretty soon we'll start seeing, there you go, a base file. There you go, rock and roll, right? So now if we go back to Glue, I should see two tables at this point. That is the RO and the RT. Hopefully comes up. There you go, RO. RO stands for real time and RT, sorry, RO stands for read optimize and RT stands for real time, my bad. All right, so now what I could do also is at this point, I can refresh here on Athena to prove it. Am I on the right region? Yeah, I'm on the right region. Gonna select the database that RORT. Perfect. That's amazing. That's exactly what I wanted. All right. So I'm gonna run a query, and here you can see that's the data that came in, right? This is the data straight coming from MongoDB, right? So yeah, real-time streams, right? So looks good. Looks fantastic. And yeah, that's basically it, guys, right? So we have successfully made a complete ingestion pipeline, right? Anytime an insert or update happens on MongoDB, real time those events are now flowing into event bridge or event bus, whatever you want to call. A rule is forwarding this event into kinesis. And here in this example, we had this nested object. So I also showed you how to handle nested, complex data types, right? This code right here also takes care of schema evolution, which means if you add a new column, automatically it would be added in the Hudi, okay, in your data lake. So please make sure to share the video with your coworkers and colleagues if you really enjoyed. Make sure to give a thumbs up, and if you have any more questions, list your question in the comment section below. With that being said, keep smiling, keep programming, and I will see you guys in the next video.